Hey guys, it's Sagar from TechWorks, and here is my camera review of the iPhone XR. I got this phone on the launch day itself, but I have been traveling ever since, so I did not get a chance to shoot and upload its unboxing video for you guys. I took this phone on a road trip with some of my friends, so I got a chance to take a lot of image and video samples with it. I wish the Pixel 3 and OnePlus 6T were also available when I went on this trip. It would have given me some really good images for a comparison video. Anyways, before we get to the image and video samples from the iPhone XR, let us first get its specifications out of the way. This phone essentially packs in the same exact 12-megapixel primary camera with f1.8 aperture, 26mm wide lens, larger individual pixel size of 1.4 micron, optical image stabilization, and twice the number of autofocus pixels as we saw on the iPhone XS Max. It doesn't have a secondary telephoto lens, but it can still take portrait mode images using Apple's new computational photography algorithms. It also packs in all the same software features like Smart HDR, depth control before and after taking a portrait shot, portrait lighting effects, and so on. You can shoot 4K videos at 24, 30, and 60 frames per second, and 1080p videos at 30, 60, 120, or 240 frames per second. Only things missing from the rear camera are the ability to take portrait images of objects or non-human subjects, and 2 extra portrait lighting effects which are available on the cameras of the iPhone X, XS, and XS Max. At the front, we have the exact same 7-megapixel true depth camera sensor like on the iPhone XS and XS Max. It comes with f2.2 aperture, Smart HDR feature, and ability to shoot 1080p 60fps videos. With specs out of the way, let us now take a look at the image and video samples from the iPhone XR. But before that, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the amazing videos coming up on this channel. All of these images are shot in auto mode with Smart HDR turned on. Thanks to the new sensor, there are a lot of details in these images. Everything in these shots looks crisp and sharp, as you would expect from a camera of a flagship smartphone. I personally feel that these images should have a bit more contrast, as some of the images might look too flat at times. Colors also look good, but they are a bit warmer and slightly saturated compared to the actual scene. Despite of this, the overall images are very good and pleasing to look at. There is no secondary telephoto lens, so you cannot take 2x optically zoomed images, but you can still take 2x digitally zoomed images with this single lens. In fact, you have the option to digitally zoom in 5 times. These images are not as sharp or as clear as the images from the telephoto lens of the iPhone XS and XS Max, but in bright daylight conditions like these, most of these digitally zoomed images look good enough. Now on this year's iPhone lineup, Smart HDR is one of the best additions. It offers an amazing dynamic range in any lighting situation. Without this feature, the coconut trees in this image would have been completely black, and due to the bright sun in the background, the sky would have also been completely blown out. Now these are 2 images with and without the Smart HDR feature turned on. Just look at how much more details and colors the Smart HDR mode brought back from the shadows in these trees. Here is another great shot. Without the Smart HDR turned on, camera would have exposed just for the sea and sky, which are brighter parts of these images, or for the shade in the foreground. But thanks to the Smart HDR mode, everything is properly exposed and the colors are also looking really good. Here is a quick test to check out the focusing speed of this camera. It is quick at switching the focus from far to near objects and then back again. And as you can see, it is equally good in handling the quick change in the exposure of the scene. I take a lot of close-up and macro shots, so quick and accurate focusing plays a big part in taking images like these. Thanks to the wide f1.8 aperture and bigger sensor, the background in all of these close-up shots is blurred out very nicely, leaving the subject in perfect sharp focus. Coming to the portrait shots, XR uses the single lens to gather all the depth information that it needs for these portrait shots. It is really good at detecting the edges and separating the subject from the background. And while it might not be perfect, but it still does a good job of keeping the hair, ears, and glasses in focus most of the times. I like the compressed background in the portrait shots of the iPhone XS and XS Max. But at the same time, I hate the fact that you have to keep a considerable difference between you and your subject while taking these portrait shots on those phones. Since the iPhone XR uses all the information from a single wide camera, you can get pretty close to your subject for capturing these portrait shots. Another advantage of using the primary camera for taking portrait shots is that since this camera has a larger sensor and a wider aperture than the telephoto lens, you get better portrait images in lower light. I hope with a future software update, Apple will allow us to switch between the normal and telephoto lens for taking portrait shots on the iPhone XS and XS Max as well. With all of these advantages, there is however one downside to the portrait mode on the iPhone XR. It only lets you to take portrait mode images of humans. For some reason, it needs to detect a human face in order to take a portrait mode image. This was a huge disappointment for me because many times I like to take portrait mode images of various things or non-human objects. A few times, I did manage to trick the camera into taking portrait mode images of statues and mannequins, but it is pretty inconsistent while doing so. As a workaround, I found Halide Camera app that allows you to take portrait mode images of pets and objects. It's a paid app and they have found a way to capture and manipulate the depth information available in the images of the iPhone XR. Here are a few examples of portrait mode images of objects taken with this app. If a third-party app can find a way to add this functionality, I'm sure Apple can do it with their native camera app, and I hope we get the ability to take portrait mode images of pets and objects in one of the future software updates. As the light goes down, iPhone XR can still manage to capture detailed and good-looking images. Since it's a flagship device, it does not struggle in lower light as some of the other mid-range smartphones. Thanks to a larger sensor, wide aperture and optical image stabilization, there is a lot of detail and clarity in its low light images. Smart HDR is active in these situations as well, and it makes sure that there are no overexposed parts in the low light images from this phone. Optical image stabilization helps in negating the blurry and shaky images even if the shutter is open for a slightly longer time to let in more light. You can use digital zoom in lower lighting situations as well. Even the iPhone XS and XS Max use the digitally zoomed images from the primary sensor while you are clicking 2x images in lower light. So it's a good news that you are not missing the secondary telephoto lens in these situations. You can use the built-in flash in extreme low lighting conditions, but just make sure to keep some distance between you and your subject, or else their skin tones will be completely blown out. The 7-megapixel front-facing camera also delivers great-looking selfies. The beauty gate issue, if you want to call it that, has been fixed with iOS 12.1 update, and the selfies are now crisper and sharper than before. The frame on this camera is pretty cropped in, so getting more of your friends in one shot is a bit tricky. This camera also shows the same amazing dynamic range as the rear camera thanks to the Smart HDR mode. This image was taken at sunset with the sun just outside the frame behind me. Even then, my face is perfectly lit and the background is not overexposed. You can take portrait images with a True Depth selfie camera, and the results are just as good as from the iPhone XS and XS Max. It is much better at detecting the edges and separating the subject from the background compared to the iPhone X, and it even does a great job around the transparent and tinted glasses, which is one of the areas where the iPhone X struggled a lot last year. You can take usable, good-looking portrait selfies even in lower light. These low-light portrait selfies, or the portrait selfies in general, are not as good as the ones from the Pixel 3, but let's leave that argument for another video. Here is a video sample from the front-facing camera of the iPhone XR. This is the same 7-megapixel front-facing camera that we saw on the iPhone XS and XS Max. And you can see how this phone handles the exposure of the background and overall colors of the scene. Coming to the video footage, just like the iPhone XS and XS Max, the iPhone XR is one of the best in its class. It can shoot 4K 30fps videos with an amazing dynamic range, and the stabilization is really good thanks to the optical image stabilization combined with Apple's software cinematic stabilization. You can also shoot 4K 60fps videos, which you can play back as they are or even slow them down to have a nice cinematic video sequence. I have shot these video clips in various lighting situations, and this should give you a fairly good idea of the video performance from this phone. For slow motion, you have the option to shoot at 120 or 240 fps in 1080p resolution, and you get to choose the part that you want to slow down later on. The single camera on the iPhone XR is the same and just as good as the primary camera on the iPhone XS and XS Max. It does not have a secondary telephoto lens, and it might not be able to take portrait mode images of pets and objects via the native camera app, but it is still better than the two higher priced iPhones when it comes to taking portrait mode images in less than ideal lighting situations. To be honest, if you know what you're doing, it is difficult to take a bad image with the iPhone XR. Even without the secondary lens, I would rate this camera to be just as impressive as the dual cameras on the iPhone XS and XS Max. If you are using an iPhone 7 or any phone from before that, and if you are looking for an upgrade, iPhone XR will give you a much needed bump in the camera performance. So after looking at over 70 image and video samples, what do you guys think about the camera on this new iPhone XR? Let me know in the comments. By the way, if you don't agree with my analysis or my views about these image and video samples, you can always go back, mute the video, watch it in the highest resolution that your device supports, and draw your own conclusions that way. That is it for this video, guys. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel for more quality tech videos like this. You can also check out some of the other videos from this channel. This has been Sagar, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.